publishing video training course titled Learning Microsoft System Center Configuration Manager Current Branch, also known as Configuration Manager or Config Manager. This section of the course deals with planning the Configuration Manager environment. This section includes Configuration Manager Overview, Site Planning and Network Design. This video is titled Configuration Manager Overview. In this video, we will discuss exactly what the product is and what it can do. We'll spend some time understanding how the product is named, as there are several versions available. I'll show you where to look for information and advice on best practice implementations. Then we'll get a short insight into the devices that can be managed by Configuration Manager and the features that we can implement. Configuration Manager integrates with many other Microsoft technologies. We'll review these technologies now as we'll encounter them later during the course. Finally, in this video, we will introduce some Configuration Manager terminology which we will use throughout the course. We'll have a little glimpse of the Config Manager console before we finish. So let's begin. So what is System Center Configuration Manager? It is the industry leader in systems management and provides comprehensive management of servers, desktops, and mobile devices. The product started as Systems Management Server or SMS back in the 1990s, before being renamed as System Center Configuration Manager or Config Manager. Let's start by getting the name right. Previously, we had Config Manager 2007 and 2012. However, this iteration is called System Center Configuration Manager Current Branch. It is not called Config Manager 2016, as that has a very specific meaning which we will discuss shortly. Now, this is a very important concept to grasp. There is a very special link between Windows 10 and Configuration Manager. Windows 10 is now being delivered by Microsoft as a service, and versions are being released at a very rapid cadence. If you deploy the latest version of Windows 10 to your organization, then you are following what is known as Current Branch or CB. If you don't want to keep up this rapid pace, then you can instead opt for using Long-Term Service Branch or LTSB. When you deploy an LTSB image, it is supported for 10 years without upgrading again. However, you will be missing out on some of the features of Current Branch. Current Branch versions are named in terms of when they were released. For example, Current Branch 1607 was released in July 2016. You can often see LTSB versions named to include the year. For example, we have Windows 10 LTSB 2016. Configuration Manager now follows this same model. Current Branch is now delivered as a service following the same naming convention as Windows 10 Current Branch. It is upgraded at a very rapid pace with several releases per year. This is the recommended model if you wish to deploy Windows 10. Configuration Manager 2016 refers to the LTSB version of Config Manager. It is a static version and features will not be upgraded regularly. It is not suitable for regularly upgrading Windows 10. Configuration Manager is a massive product and there's a lot to learn. The best place to get information and best practice advice is on the Microsoft Docs site. You'll find the site address in the notes of this video. This is the Microsoft landing page for the Configuration Manager Docs. The page contains a number of hyperlinks showing a wealth of information. You can see how to evaluate the product using your own lab, for example, what's new in the latest version. Follow the links for this information. You can see what is required to set up your own lab and what's new in version 1610, which is the latest Current Branch version. In general terms, we manage clients in Config Manager by installing a client agent on the devices. What kind of devices can we manage? The operating systems that are supported for full management by installing the Config Manager client agent are as follows. For desktops, the 32-bit and 64-bit versions of Windows 7 with Service Pack 1 through Windows 8 and 8.1 to Windows 10. Servers include Windows Server 2008 with SP2 through to Windows Server 2016. There is support for Windows embedded devices all the way from Windows XP embedded with SP3 to Windows 10 IoT devices. Various flavors of Apple Mac OS X, Linux and Unix servers are supported. And also mobile devices such as Windows phones, iOS and Android devices which are enrolled in conjunction with Microsoft Intune. It's important to remember that all Configuration Manager features are not supported on all platforms. Operating system deployment and software updates, for example, are exclusively for full Windows devices. So what are the features we can implement? It's a very long list and we couldn't mention them all now, or indeed in this entire course. Also, the product is rapidly being enhanced with the release of several new versions per year. Some of the more common features we can deploy include patch management, operating system deployment, software distribution, hardware and software inventory, remote control, endpoint protection, and mobile device management. Configuration Manager is a very powerful solution, and it leverages many other Microsoft technologies in implementing its features. Some examples are shown here. Configuration Manager requires the use of Active Directory. It uses Domain Name Services, DNS, for name resolution. Config Manager integrates with Windows Software Update Services, or WSUS, for the implementation of a patching solution. You can implement conditional access to Exchange. In other words, users won't be able to access email services using unmanaged devices. And the Automated Deployment Kit, Windows Deployment Services, User State Migration Tool, and the Microsoft Deployment Toolkit are all used in operating system deployment. Now let's introduce some Configuration Manager terminology. It's important that you use the correct terms when dealing with Config Manager. A site server is the basic building block of a Config Manager environment. You install a site server by using the Configuration Manager installation wizard. We will demonstrate this in a later video. When you install the first site server, you automatically create a site. This is represented by a 3-digit code. You can choose your own site code that represents your organization, but bear in mind that some are reserved. SMS, for example. When you start the Configuration Manager installation wizard, you must choose what type of site you wish to install. So, what are the common site types? A standalone primary site. This is the most common type of implementation in the world and is suitable for most organizations. It supports up to 150,000 clients. And a central administration site. Very large organizations will require a CAS which supports up to 25 child primary sites. This type of infrastructure can manage up to 700,000 clients, but is not required for most organizations. And this is what we will be working towards. This is the Configuration Manager console of a primary site. See the workspaces we will be configuring throughout the course. You have Assets and Compliance, where you can see things like users and devices and create collections. You have Software Library, where you have application management, software updates, operating systems. You have Monitoring, where you can see reporting and system status. And Administration, where we configure things like discovery, methods, boundaries, and boundary groups. The next video discusses Configuration Manager, site planning, and network design.